welcome to Introvert Alert. So, at a time, you're obviously wondering where Blue is. It's obviously like the day before Thanksgiving. She has a photo shoot and she has to get to New York to her family and stuff like that. So, she couldn't attend so honestly, she is genuinely pressed for time and we're sorry about that. I mean, she normally has to drive like 90 minutes, which would be like 90 minutes back. That's 3 hours. That plus the film time. So just ahead of time, just please excuse the fact that she's not here. She will be back like promptly, but it's just the fact that hey, she genuinely has just a lot of things to do. She has to meet up with family and whatnot. But moving along. So what I wanted to talk about today in general is it has to kind of do not with misconception, but it has to do with kind of like toxic people. And I get that we've talked about toxic people before, but it's more around like kind of like when it comes, for example, when it comes to an introvert, it's really hard for us to do things like read body language or connect emotionally with people. So it's really hard for us to kind of see like what they're actually trying to do in the background. So it has to do with, well, it might not necessarily even be a toxic person, but when people tend to be toxic when it comes to things like this, right? So, hey, good to have you here. So, like I was saying before, right? So, like a good example of this would be this was actually in the news earlier. I don't know if you heard about the homeless guy that it goes by three people's names. It's Mark and Kate. They were the couple, and then the homeless guy's name was Bobbit, right? So as you guys heard, right, Kate was supposedly stuck one night, and Bobbit gave her, his last $20. He's just like, hey, well, actually, he went to get the gas for her, spending his last $20, and he didn't want any money, so they set up the GoFundMe for him, right? It turns out in the news recently that the whole thing was a scam. And get this, the way they found out was Kate's dumbass had, like, she just thought it was okay to just, like, yeah, you can tell a friend, like, yeah, it's one thing to tell a friend, but she thought it was okay to text it to her friend. So, like, if we can get, like, a Donkey of the Day or, like, a Darwin Award, anything like that, I give it to her. Because think about it, like, you're in the middle of being investigated, and you gave your friend a confession in writing. And obviously your friend has, like, a good conscience, so she went to the police. She's just like, yeah, this whole thing's a scam. Here's her telling me herself, you know what I mean? Timestamp everything. So, as I was saying before, and like, oh, the funny part about it too is like it happened right before the trial. So she actually right after the trial. So she just went to trial. She got by it just fine, and then she like fucks herself up by just going, hey, I gotta tell somebody. So yeah, I completely made up the whole thing. But again, that's what kind of what it falls down to, and like I get what some people are thinking. It's just like, yeah, I really shouldn't be nice anymore, and it's just you should, because it's shitty people like that obviously take away hope from the world. Because think about it, like if that actually was like true that he actually did that, it just goes without saying that there's unsung people doing stuff like that every day, and like again, that's why people should have hope and not focus on the fact that there are shitty people like that are just willing to take advantage of everybody's like goodwill to obviously help out Bobbit, who appeared to be a good guy. Not to mention, like, I know one thing that we all tend to deal with a lot too is let's say for example, right, we all have friends from high school, we keep them on our Facebook, our Instagram and stuff like that. Like, we don't talk to them anymore. But just due to the fact that we associate and even some situations, you never really talk to them at all, but just the fact that you saw each other in the hallway, you figure you send them an invite and stuff like that. And it's like, like one thing that I tend to get a lot, like, because like people know, like obviously people that actually know me in real life, they know I run like a small business and stuff like that. I get the occasional friend that hits me up, and I know this probably happens to you guys. You get the occasional friend that hits you up, and like everything's really cool. You guys are catching up, shooting the shits. You're talking about chilling and stuff like that. And out of nowhere, they hit you with that, I need a favor. You know what I mean? Like, for example, like besides money, one thing that I kind of get hit a lot is like, like with moving, you know what I mean? Like I'll get a friend hitting me up saying, hey, you know, starting up a conversation, but like obviously most people don't want to help like you move just because it's a lot of heavy lifting and like you usually just get $50. But it's just like, you know, they soften you up, they warm you up, and they actually, it's kind of like springing a trap, you know what I mean? Like they make sure that you're able to be responsive by you know, obviously starting the conversation. And it's just like, but yeah, it's just, you know, it goes without saying that we have a lot of people like that, and in your life, the best way to deal with them is honestly you have to be just blunt and straightforward. You know, for example, if you know, if your friend tells you, hey, I have some pending money and I just need to like borrow it for a day or two, unless you actually know that guy and you know you associate with them regularly and you know they're good for it, you know, honestly, like what I tend to do is I'll honestly ask you for a pending notification. The second anybody mentions, hey, pending money, you know, I have to be straightforward with them. It's just like, hey, listen, man, you know, I have no problem helping you out, but I also need to be like assured that my money is coming back to me, you know. And with that being said, you know, it's just a matter of after a while, you know, you always get those toxic people just kind of like getting to you. And it's just, you have to be blunt, you have to be straightforward, and overall, you just have to make it clear that you can't really deal with them. Because just think about it this way, like, these people are willing to, you know, ultimately, it's like, they hit you up being like, hey, how you doing? They connect with you emotionally and stuff like that, and it's just like, they ask you to be considerate of them, but like, ultimately, like, it's not even within their intentions to be considerate of you. So the best thing for you to do is just simply just be like, hey, just like in the homeless person situation, it wasn't until they got investigated, it seemed like they were gonna clear out, but they ended up not doing so. But it's just a matter of, hey, this, you know, had people actually gone further, investigated further, you know, they would have seen that, hey, these people, well, they only encountered each other, I think, like once or twice before, so, you know, obviously you can't blame anybody at all for not knowing that this was kind of orchestrated this way, but overall there should have been like more investigation, more confirmation as to this happening, you know, because like one thing, for example, that I would have personally asked for was to see the $20 receipt for gas. That's one thing that I never actually saw like put anywhere, you know. It's just like, hey, like, I get that that's not something you keep around, but like, shouldn't he be able to go back to the gas station where like they can like possibly confirm? Because like no one actually talked to like a gas station person, and that person's just like, yeah, I randomly sold this guy $20 worth of gas. More importantly, like I don't know about you guys, but I wouldn't randomly just give a homeless guy like a gasoline jug. So it's like, you're telling me that you're gonna give this homeless person, like, don't get me wrong, I get that they're good people. I'm not saying that you shouldn't trust them, but it's just the fact that you're giving someone something in general at a time. And it's just like, yeah, you're just gonna give this to him. He's gonna walk into the darkness and he's gonna come back, but you don't know him though. You know what I mean? Especially if you're that low of a situation, you'll take anything to make anything out of that. Like, that could be $5. That's lunch for the day for him. You know what I mean? Yeah, I kind of forgot where I was going with everything. It had to do with toxic people, and obviously how to deal with them. Because honestly, like, I know for a fact that I hate dealing with them. And I deal with them way too much to the point where it's just like, you know what? I don't want to deal with anybody, and I don't. Because like I mentioned before, you know, like, here's like a good example of something that happened to me recently, right? So a close friend of mine about a month ago, right? I went over his house, and you know, we were having a good time, we were having a few drinks and whatnot, and I had to go to the store, but I forgot my ID. So, you know, on my way to the store, you know, they were gonna order food. Obviously, I was the one that was supposed to, like, I was gonna pay for the food up front and then, you know, be paid back later. So I left my card, and like a few days later, it's like the day before payday, and obviously, you have everything budgeted out. I just paid my bills, I just paid like my mortgage and stuff like that. So obviously, I'm not. Honestly, I don't know that many people that can pay off a mortgage and like all that kind of stuff, and like, you're stacking unless you've been doing it for like 20 years or so. But like I was saying before though, obviously I was a little bit pressed for cash. It was the day before I get paid, so obviously I should have like a little bit of money in my pocket. I go to swipe my card, and I get declined, and it's just like in my head, why am I gonna get declined? I'm buying $6 worth of food, and there should be $10 in my card. And obviously, so the day of the money, not only did I like confront the friend that I specifically gave the card to, but I also try to get my money back. And it goes without saying that it's just like you can't really trust everybody to the fullest extent, you know what I mean? Like, especially if you know, like, they have those tendencies, like, I should have known better than to leave the card with him, of all people. But at the same time, it's just, alright, he was with other people that I knew I could trust. At least I felt that they could trust. But it's just like they were all ultimately okay to be like, hey, we can order this extra food, he's not even gonna notice, someone else chipped in on it, or someone else is gonna pay him back later, which obviously I was supposed to be paid back later on in the week. And it's just like he didn't even have that. So not only was I asked for money, but then I also got more money essentially stolen. And again, in this situation, when I started talking to him about getting my money back, he gave me this story about, hey, the money is pending. And obviously in my head, it's just like, okay, so if the money's pending, just send me the pending notification. The second that you try to make a transaction and your money is pending, you get that notification right away on any bank. So send me a screenshot of that. We're good. And it's just like started avoiding me for a couple days. Eventually I bumped into him. It's just like, hey man, I get that it's only $30, but in this situation it's not even the money. It's just the fact that, it's just like the morality and everything else behind this, like the fact that, I ultimately, obviously I wanted to make sure everybody was fed, having a good time and stuff like that. You said you would pay me back. So the fact that I'm being considerate and I'm like sharing my love and stuff with everybody, and you're not even like, it's, you gotta like bump off people like that, you know what I mean? And that's kind of like where it goes without saying, you have to obviously be strong with people like that, because like the main thing that people fall into is this moral gray area of, if I'm too aggressive or if I handle it a certain way, I'm gonna lose my friend and stuff like that. And it's one of those situations where it's just like you have to stop and question yourself as like, is this friend even worth keeping? Like, sure, if they're in this like really bad money situation and they were desperate and stuff like that, okay, that's one thing. I get that people tend to do things that they don't want to do when you're starving and stuff like that. But the fact is, it goes without saying that if it's like a everyday situation and this person just screwed you over, why should you fall into this moral gray area of, how do I handle this where I can be firm, but at the same time, how do I keep my friend? It's just like, ultimately you gotta tell yourself like fuck this person, you know what I mean? Because ultimately, especially if they're asking you to be considerate of them, hey man, I haven't eaten in days, I haven't been able to pay my bills, I'm going to lose my house, stuff like that. Especially if they're asking you to be considerate of them, like, are you actually being considerate of me, you know what I mean? So ultimately, it's just one of those situations where, I can't hear what you have to say, you have to pay me. Or you shouldn't bother me with those things, and obviously I'm not saying that everybody should approach every single situation like so linear, but it's a matter of, based on the situation, case by case, if it falls into these like categories, the best thing for you to do is just not even bother with that person. Like, what's the whole point, like, because again, you're gonna fall into the gray area, which is just like, hey, I want to keep my friend, but it's just like that's not a friend, a friend might not hit you up all the time and stuff like that, but ultimately a friend is someone that doesn't screw you over, period. You know what I mean? Especially if they've done it more than once, there shouldn't be like a strike system either. It's just, hey, you've done it more than once, I really don't appreciate it, and if you've been warned, leave. You know what I mean? And ultimately, like, as far as getting out of those situations too, like when you get the friend that kind of like you know, softens you up with the conversation. That way, you know, you're roped in. He knows that you're actually there to respond and stuff like that. Then they hit you with that, hey, I need money or I need a favor. You know, you got to tell them straightforwardly. You know, especially if they don't chill with you all the time and stuff like that. It's just like, bro, like, don't you think that there should be like some measures here? Like, how about we actually start chilling, and how about, you know, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So if you're just gonna hit me up out of the blue and like your main intention was to actually ask me for money, you know, I don't mind, but like it's a matter of you have to be straightforward to it, you know. But if they're gonna play games, you know, don't play the game. Don't fall into the gray area. Because just think about like the whole Bobbit situation. The whole thing could have been solved by them being asked, hey, which gas station did you go to? Do you have the receipt? Oh, you don't have the receipt. Well, that's actually understandable. You don't just keep a receipt around. He's homeless. He might have potentially used it for, like, you know, lit it up real quick, stayed warm for a couple seconds, stuff like that. And that's not me stereotyping at a time, so if anybody thinks so, sorry, but not the case. Yeah. But all you had to do was it was just a matter of enough research had to be done. Enough research would have eventually been done, where they would have figured it out. I think the one thing or two things that was true is that, what's it called? Oh, gracias. What's it called? Like I was saying before, I think the one thing that ultimately, like, was true was that the guy was actually, like a homeless veteran. You know what I mean? And obviously, thank you for your service, but at the same time, you know, that doesn't give anybody the right to obviously, like, pull everybody's heartstrings and steal their money. And, you know, especially because, like, it falls down to, like, it's, in a way, I kind of feel like that in itself is also, like, stealing valor, you know, taking advantage of your, like, position, like, as a veteran and stuff like that. Because, again, you know, that's the main thing that kind of stuck to people, that, oh, this guy's a good person, we have to give him a second chance. Because, you know, the way GoFundMe works when these things happen, it's just everybody has, like, $5 and it just adds up to a couple $100,000, you know what I mean? And as far as that goes, you know, it's just, you know, it's also stealing valor ultimately. You know, I'm not a veteran, and it goes without saying that if you're not a veteran, you know, the last thing you should be doing is posing as one, because, you know, like, ultimately, thank you. You're more than welcome to if you come over. Just saying. But what's it called? Like I was saying before, it's just like it's a matter of like. Because think about it, you know what I mean? Like, it's a sacrifice. Because me being an athlete, like, that's nothing compared to what you have to do just for basic training. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I just got home from the paintball field. That's why, like, I'm covered in... Well, you can't really see it that well because of the lighting, but, like, I'm covered in paint and stuff like that. I'm covered in bruises, definitely. But yeah, like I was saying before, it's just a matter of, like, you know, compared to for what I have to go through like three times a week just to be able to play paintball as good as I am, that is nothing compared to, again, just basic training, just making it to be a soldier, you know, let alone obviously maintaining it and being able to like rank up, you know, because for example, you know, if you're at the same fitness level that you were as a private, you know, you're not gonna make it to sergeant, you know, you're gonna have to obviously do more in order to pass like the qualification test and stuff like that. So, again, you know, it's just a matter of, you know, me being an athlete, that's nothing compared to what they have to do. So, not only that, you know, you go overseas, you're away from your family, you are, you know, more than half the time you're eating out of a bag, you know what I mean? Because I've tried MREs, and they're not the worst thing in the world, but it's just, they're bland. It doesn't really feel like food, honestly. And it's just like, they'll literally be surviving off these for months, and like... they know they're not going to get that big money either, you know what I mean? Like, sure, they're going to get benefits out of it, but what's one day where you get discounts and, like, a steady check for the rest of your life compared to, you know, those grueling conditions and stuff like that they have to go through. So especially if you either are a veteran and you take advantage of, like, your position of, like, hey, you know, I'm a veteran and stuff like that, pull heartstrings and all that, what's it called, then... you know, you shouldn't be doing anything like that. The whole thing's despicable. And obviously, if you're a person that's posing as one, I feel like you should be thrown in a fire. I'm sorry, I get that some people might feel that's a little bit extreme, but like think about it. People died. You know what I mean? We're talking like surviving like firefights and stuff like that. And again, sure, you're getting a daily paycheck, but if you just watch your friend die, like that's burned into your head. You're gonna close your eyes every night, and that's what you're gonna see for the rest of your life. Like, keep your paycheck. You know what I mean? What's it called? I wish I could turn off the PlayStation music. I've actually tried. If you can tell me how to do it, I will. I've been wanting to do that forever now. And actually, yeah, you're right. Like, what it falls down to is profit, you know, especially with the companies and stuff like that. Because, like, did you guys see that, like, recent video that was passed around of, like, the dude showing, like, the mechanically separated chicken? It's literally just, like, in boxes, like, in bags. It's just, like, pink glop. And obviously it gets shaped into, like, dinosaurs and, like, whatever, like, patties or whatever and stuff like that. Yeah, it's definitely all for profit, man. I mean, like, for example, like... You know, like in businesses where you have to refurbish a lot, you know, it's a common practice to, like, just keep the parts. You know what I mean? Yeah, I went to Chelsea. Are you going to be there this Sunday with your friends, Ashley? You guys should stop by. They're doing full field. Yeah, bus people. But yeah, they actually did full field today, but not that many people showed up, unfortunately. But like I said before, I'm pretty sure we're going to get a good crowd Sunday, though. I think this, you have to turn it off. There we go. Yeah. Use the AR Studio and phone app. Alright. Let's see if I could even get into my account. Just give me 1 second, guys. I'm gonna see if I could finally solve that, like, trouble that we've been having since, like, day one. But like I was saying before, it's just like, especially like, because obviously like I run my small business and stuff like that, like obviously I tend to do more honest practices, but like especially if you're in the refurbishing business, you gotta think about it this way, right? You're getting paid like commission and wholesale rates in between parts and stuff like that, so you're obviously gonna give people a bunch of parts they don't even need more than half the time. Wait, what the heck? I freaking hate this thing. AR Studio. Yep. Yeah, I can't check it. We'll do it next time, rinse and repeat. I'm sorry for the music. I get it tends to annoy people. It stays in my head a lot. I don't like it. But back to what I was saying though, you know, what it falls down to is just, you know, there are a lot of shitty people in your life, but you definitely shouldn't fall into that, like, moral gray area of, hey, I should be a good person too, because you're not being a bad person at all if you're just being real with the situation ultimately. You know, like, for example, like, if you were just straightforward that you needed money to begin with, you know, if you didn't have to go through all these hurdles of, hey, like, how are you doing, and, like, obviously, like, we're getting to, like, know each other again and stuff like that, depending on the situation, you know. Hey, how you doing, Ever? It was good playing with you Sunday, bro. We're gonna be there again this Sunday, me and the crew. You should stop by. But, back to what I was saying, so, again, you know what I mean? Because ultimately, you're not being a bad person for being real with the situation. For example, like, when it came down to my friend, you know, when it came down to the day that he was supposed to pay me, he gave me the story about, hey, like, my money is pending, my job was supposed to send it me, blah, 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 and, you know, the second I asked him for a confirmation for like, the, you know, like, the pending notice and stuff like that, it's just immediately he tried to, like, dodge me and stuff like that, and I didn't have any of it. Eventually, a couple days later, tracked them out. It's just like, hey, man, you know, can you just give me my money? Because ultimately, it's not even the money itself, it's just a level of disrespect. You know, you're asking me to be considerate of your situation because your money's pending, but you're not being considerate of me at all. You know, how do you know I'm not hungry or anything like that? You don't care. So why do you expect me to be this, like, saint when you're just being, well, a dick, ultimately? And, you know, that's one thing I encourage people to be able to do so freely all the time. Just be as real as possible with people in those situations when they kind of, like, corner you. It's just like, no. Just push them to the side. It's just like, no. You know what I mean? Because, again, you're not being a bad person for not wanting to deal with everything they know nobody else wants to deal with. You know what I mean? Because, like, if it were them in your shoes, they're not going to want to deal with that. They're going to do the same shit you want to do, which is just get away from you with that. And what's it called? you know, another thing with like misconceptions as well is just like, you know, it's a matter of, you know, you have to be able to get to like the core values of things, you know, because like another thing that people kind of worry about is like integrity and like pride and stuff like that. Like, how do I make myself look and stuff like that? Ultimately, if you put the situation out to be for what it is, you know, that people are going to see that on their own. You know, it shouldn't matter. You shouldn't have to defend yourself ultimately, because if you just do what you're supposed to do, you know, people are obviously going to feel some type of way about it, but when they start talking about it later on, it's just, what are they going to ultimately be able to say? That I was wrong for, again, doing what you would do in that situation ultimately, or what you would want to do? It's just, you know, there is or should not be any vice versa if they're trying to like pull that on you when it boils down to it. Because, you know, it's just like I tend to say it a lot in my show, you know, you're not, you don't understand, like, especially if you don't like know me and stuff like that, or know what I'm going through. It's just like there's not much give or take, you know. It's kind of like Buddha says, you know, you have to, like, if you're gonna like tune your guitar or anything like that, you can't do it too tightly. You can't, it has to literally be just right, otherwise you're just gonna get like crappy sound and stuff like that. Like, for example, like I play the piano a lot, and it goes without saying, like, I spend hours, like we're literally talking, I could be there 4 or 5 hours tuning the strings on that thing, just to get like that perfect like pitch and stuff like that on the notes and all that. So, you know, on top of having to be patient, you know, you just have to know, you know, just when to be strong and when to be light, you know, because obviously that's like another thing with playing the piano. Like, you can hit different key notes, you know, you just have to tap it a certain way. It's not just no, you can't really do that, because otherwise it's just gonna sound like Dracula's having a heart attack and he's like asking for help on the piano. You know what I mean? Hey, how you doing, Miss Kelly? Nice to see you again. But what's it called? It's getting close to be that time again. I know normally we do it like a little bit longer, but as I mentioned before, like, tomorrow's Thanksgiving, and again, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Thank you for stopping by today. And what's it called? I want to give a what's it called? She had a photo shoot today because she actually is releasing like a music album pretty soon. So she had a photo shoot a little bit earlier today, and she's actually on her way to New York now. She's gonna be back next week though, or next week over. Just, it goes without saying, you know, I obviously miss her too, but she'll definitely be back shortly. But like I was saying before, I definitely want to give a big shout out to oh no, I definitely will. What I can do actually is I'll send her a screenshot of this, so she'll be able to see herself that you said hi. And thank you for stopping by again. You're like an OG like person. You know what I mean? I see you a lot on this. I really appreciate you for that. What's it called? Ooh, I forgot I even had this here. Nice. Sorry guys, it's just one of those situations where you look at it, you just go, neat. I love old school spiders. I don't care what people have to say about spiders. That's the best $40 you'll ever spend in paintball, honestly. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. I appreciate that. What's it called? I'm actually gonna be stopping by for like between Christmas and New Year's to Puerto Rico. I might not be able to do the show just because I don't know how the Wi-Fi is down there. Like, every time I go, the Wi-Fi is already crappy to begin with. So post-storm, I doubt it's gonna get any better. Because like literally, like, especially where you are on the island, there's like a lot of mountains. Like, the signal could be absolutely terrible in your area just because you got that like next mountain over like blocking the radio tower completely and stuff like that. But what's it called? Wow, that just really made me miss Puerto Rico. I can't wait to stop by again. Honestly, like, what's everybody's favorite place to like be and stuff like that? Like, if you could be anywhere but here, where would you go? Because honestly, I would go back home to Puerto Rico if things were better. I've actually been wanting to go back my entire life, but it's just things haven't really gotten better, you know. No, I can't imagine, man. It's just like, if you think about it, it's just like the companies that manage it outside of the U.S., you know. We're used to like Comcast and like Fios and all that, and it's just, you go to the other areas and they don't have that. I don't remember like the exact name of like the the main company besides like Comcast that does stuff in Puerto Rico. But honestly, like they're not the best. It's like you're paying for like 128 megabytes per second. Like for example, I'm using 128 megabytes per second. I'm guessing you've been to the old San Juan tour. Yeah, I love going to old San Juan. It's literally the first place I stopped by because, like, literally when you get out of the airport, you're right there in Isla Verde. That's like the main area, like the main San Juan area. So you're not that far. You know what I mean? There's also like this like chicken joint. I can't remember the name of it right now. I think it's Bebo's chicken. If you ever get off at Puerto Rico, like the airport in San Juan, it's literally like 10, maybe 15 minutes away from the airport. So it's a chicken joint called Bebo's Chicken Joint, just right off the road. You're gonna love it. I'm telling you, the best chicken. Oh my god, it's just nice roasted. They don't add that much like seasoning to it, but it's just like the way they roast it, like the fat carries the flavor around really well. Amazing. Yeah, what's it called? Like I mentioned before, I absolutely I can actually post pictures. There's actually an official Introvert alert Facebook at a time if you guys want to check that out. But what's it called? I can post pictures of when I've been to like the old San Juan area. Because like obviously there's two different like sides of it. You can kind of tell just by like how the streets are, whether it's old brick or like newer road. But like I mentioned before, it's getting to be that time of day, unfortunately, so I am going to be splitting off. Next week, we'll obviously have a full episode, and we'll obviously have our beautiful lady back. Yeah, but good having you guys today. Thank you for your time. I'm PB and Gene, and I approve this message. I am out.